Hey, how's it going? Vladimir Donis here. So, hey, today I'm coming to you live. And the thing that's on my mind is why education isn't enough. If you happen to be catching this video live, do me a favor and hit pound live. And if you happen to be catching this video via the replay, do me a favor and hit pound replay. Let me know where you are tuning in from. I'm actually in the middle of a challenge, and quite honestly, I don't know what day this is and or what video number this is. I want to say that it's 42 or 43. So, day 43 or 42 inside of a 60-day video challenge. This wasn't well planned because I have a meeting in about 20 minutes and I decided to go for a walk around my neighborhood. And I say, oh yeah, you know what? Something is on my mind. Let me go ahead and jump on live and just share what is on my mind. And the thing that's on my mind is why education isn't enough. For me, this thought process has kept me back. I thought that at some point that education was enough, and then I realized that it's not enough. And my guess is, some of you who's watching this, some of you who's listening to this may think that education is enough. And for that reason, it may prevent you from implementing certain things, and it may prevent you from being able to take the next step in your business. So let me go ahead and just share with you an example of how I've come to this thought process. So I remember I had gotten a job as a financial aid manager within a university, and my responsibility is that I had a small group of financial aid officers that I was managing, and I was responsible for this new team. And one of the things that this company does is that on an annual basis, this company sends myself, who was the financial aid manager, and the financial aid trainer to an annual training so that way we can stay up to date as it relates to financial aid. So awarding financial aid and awarding FAFSA to students can be a very complex process. So it is in our best interest that we know what we're doing. It's in our best interest that we have team members that are well trained. So for that reason, we went to this annual conference so that way we can be up to speed. I remember going the first year and being very open to learning, and it was a good conference. And I remember going back the second year, and when I went back the second year, some of the things that this group of trainers was doing is that they were reinforcing some of the things that we should have already known. And when I got to this training, I essentially just started to kind of just roll my eyes, and I started to say to myself, wait a second, I already know this. Why are they teaching me? Why are they showing me fundamental things that I already know? And, I said that to myself. When I said that to myself, I was really not as engaged as I should have been, via day one for this training. And for whatever reason, later on that day, I was just kind of just reflecting and just thinking about, just my first year with this company. And I was just kind of just doing some self-reflecting exercises to think about, okay, how did I do with this company? What are some of the things that I do? What are some of the things that I implement from the last time that I went to this conference? And when I went back and looked at it, I had, quote unquote, got educated. I had, quote unquote, learned some things from this conference. But from an application standpoint, I hadn't really applied any of the stuff that I had learned from a foundational standpoint. I was saying to myself, I already know this, but I hadn't implemented any of it. So let me tell you why I hadn't implemented any of it. I hadn't implemented any of it because I had a team that was responsible for helping the students complete the financial aid process. So from a delivery standpoint, I wasn't responsible for delivering the service from a financial aid service standpoint. I was just responsible for managing it. And when my team members had questions, and from a training standpoint, I had someone who was a trainer, and the person who was a trainer was responsible for training my team and making sure that my team was up to date and up to par on all of the training information. So here it is. I had, quote unquote, said I was educated, and I had, quote unquote, said that I knew something, but I wasn't doing it, and neither was I comfortable with, regurgitating and or training someone else via the material. And not too long ago, I just recently attended a workshop, a marketing workshop. And when I was attending the marketing workshop, some of the things that happened via the marketing workshop is that they were talking about some of the fundamental things that you should know and or you should understand from a marketing standpoint. And guess what? I caught myself doing the exact same thing and saying to myself, wait a second, I already know this. And the reason why I say I already know this is because I had already heard the concept before, and I am familiar with the concept. Heard the concept before, being familiar with the concept, and implementing the concepts are two different things. So the question that I had to ask myself was, am I training? Am I teaching this concept? Or am I applying this concept in my business? And the answer to both of those questions was a no. I wasn't teaching it, right? So I don't necessarily know it well enough to be able to teach it. And I was not implementing it in my business. So I went back and I said, you know what? Based on some of these foundations, this is what I'm going to take and this is what I'm going to implement in my business so that I really can say that I know it, and so that I can really say, you know what, I've implemented it. So my guess is, right, if you're anything like me, you have probably, frowned, you've probably overlooked a concept, you probably overlook a methodology, you've probably overlooked something that can help you in your business, quote unquote, saying, you know what, I've already been educated around this topic. I've already been educated around this concept. And I would challenge you, and I would challenge to say that you're really not educated via the concept unless you are comfortable with teaching it to other people, right? Or unless from an implementation standpoint, you are implementing it and you are doing it in your business on a very, very consistent basis. So some of the things that I'm going to try and be very careful of when I get reintroduced to a concept that I quote unquote already know. Hey, Angel, how's it going? When I get reintroduced to a concept that I already know, is that I'm going to be very careful with saying, you know what, from an education standpoint, I've already been educated. I've already been educated, and I'm very comfortable from an education standpoint, because being educated really isn't enough, right? I think about, degrees, and I think about, all of the things that we learn in school, and those things are, amazing, but it's not enough until we go out into the world, until we go out and we contribute some of those skills and some of those assets to society. I think about educators, I think about teachers, and I think about all of the amazing things that the teachers do to teach us some of the things that, that we know. Those teachers themselves, they had to go to school at some point to obtain the knowledge and or the expertise, and them going to school and acquiring the knowledge and learning the skill set, that in itself is not enough. It doesn't become enough until they go from a practical standpoint and start to teach it, right? Because when they start to teach it, they know enough about the concept to be able to teach it. Now they can make a living from it. Not only can they make a living from it, they are actually contributing. So now they are in a position to be able to say, okay, I do know the concept and I do understand the concept. And in some cases, even in those cases, there isn't anything wrong with reinforcement, right? Some things require reinforcement because they're just that important to the overall success and the overall success. So Angel says, yes, you actually have to implement it. It's not enough to know things. I completely agree. So, I want to just say to you, just to kind of just in closing, be careful about saying that, you are educated. Be careful about saying that you already know something, and be careful around overlooking certain concepts and certain methodologies and or things that can help you move your business forward. Are you teaching it? Are you very comfortable with it to the point where if someone asks you a question around that concept and or around their methodology, that you can teach it very comfortably? That's thing number one, because I see teachers who are very comfortable in subject matters, and those individuals, right? I would say that those individuals, from an application standpoint, are applying a thing. And I also see individuals that are taking concepts and implementing it in their business on a very consistent basis. And I think those individuals can go ahead and say that from an education standpoint, that they are educated in the concept. There were two instances in which I was not doing that in my business. So the first instance was, when I was working as a financial aid manager, and I eventually had to change that mindset and change that concept. And the second instance is as of recently, when I was attending this training and realized that I was going down that same path and saying, oh, I already know this. Well, you really don't know it unless you are implementing it. That's it. Pound live if you happen to be catching this live. Pound replay if you happen to be catching this via the replay. That's it for now. I'll talk to you soon.